Ibrahim Traoré initiated the idea of raising 150,000 African crocodiles, taking advantage of the climate and natural resources, while also creating a new farming industry that supplies crocodile leather to global fashion brands and crocodile meat to restaurants, generating jobs and huge income for Burkina Faso. When President Ibrahim Traoré announced that Burkina Faso would build large farms to raise 150,000 African crocodiles, the world thought it was a joke. Crocodiles in the Sahel, a country struggling with drought, jihadist insurgencies, and poverty, were suddenly talked about as a source of luxury leather and rare meat. Western analysts mocked it, aid agencies shook their heads, and international media dismissed the idea as a reptilian fantasy. But for the people of Burkina Faso, this announcement had a different meaning. They had seen their young president overcome every hardship to plant bananas across the savannah, establish cocoa plantations on semi-arid land, and turn experiments into revolutions. So when Traoré now talks about crocodiles, maybe he knows something the world doesn't. This decision wasn't random. Traoré studied both history and economics. He argued that crocodiles are not only symbols of resilience, but also an untapped resource. Their leather is among the most valuable on the global market, used by luxury fashion houses to make handbags, belts, and shoes worth thousands of dollars each. However, African countries with natural crocodile populations rarely capture this value. Most leather is exported raw, sold cheaply to foreign buyers for profit. By building state-controlled crocodile farms, Burkina Faso can turn things around. Instead of exporting raw leather, the country will own the leather, process it, and sell it directly to luxury companies under its own contracts. And it will go even further. Crocodile meat, long quietly consumed in rural communities, could be legalized, standardized, and exported to restaurants across Africa, Europe, and Asia as a delicacy. Nothing will go to waste. Leather, meat, even crocodile fat can be turned into oil and medicine. Traoré presented this plan to Parliament with his usual defiant attitude. The West says we're too poor to dream, but in our rivers and climate live creatures that kings once feared. Why should France make handbags from African crocodiles while Africans starve? Why should Italians eat our meat while our children go hungry? We will no longer export poverty. We will export electricity. The symbolism is irresistible. For centuries, crocodiles were feared predators, lurking under rivers and attacking with terrifying speed. Traoré changed his last name to Ali, a symbol of strength, patience, and survival. In his speech, he declared, "The crocodile waits before it strikes." This is Burkina Faso. We have waited, and now we will fight poverty. At first, even within the country, skepticism rose. Farmers asked how they could manage such dangerous animals. Aid experts warned of ecological imbalance. Western NGOs raised alarms about animal rights, but Traoré countered with a mix of science and politics. First, he noted that Burkina Faso already had sacred crocodile ponds in places, like Bazoulet, where villagers have lived peacefully alongside the reptiles for generations. He said, "We are not bringing crocodiles here. We are domesticating intelligence right within our culture." Second, he partnered with African and Asian reptile farming experts, especially from countries like Zimbabwe and Thailand, where crocodile farming has succeeded. Third, he emphasized control. The farms would be tightly managed, animals kept in captivity, and nothing would threaten the wild population. Most importantly, he saw this project as a matter of sovereignty and survival. Burkina Faso cannot forever depend on cotton and gold. It's a matter of sovereignty and survival. Burkina Faso can't keep relying on cotton and gold, which are controlled by market fluctuations and foreign corporations. New industries are needed, ones that outsiders can't easily manipulate. Crocodile leather, with its high demand, meets that need. It can't be easily manipulated. Crocodile leather with high-end demand met that need. Traoré said at a rally that Paris might be laughing today, but tomorrow Paris will have to pay us in euros for crocodile leather. This gamble has made the youth excited. Thousands volunteered for training to become crocodile handlers, tanners, and processors. Universities launched new programs in zoology and agricultural business. Entrepreneurs pictured restaurants serving crocodile dishes in Ouagadougou, while international observers once mocked and whispered, if Traoré really pulled it off. Across the savannah, construction began. Large pens were built, lined with solar-powered pumps, to keep water circulating. Military engineers designed feeding systems and secure fences. Farmers were recruited and trained, learning to feed baby crocodiles fish meal, byproducts from the maize, and even chicken waste. Crocodiles thrived in the hot Sahel climate, breeding in ponds that also served as water sources for nearby villages. By the second year, thousands of baby crocodiles basked in the sun, their armored backs gleaming. The farms were no longer a fantasy. They were reality. And with every growing reptile, the promise of a new economy grew too. What started as mockery became motivation. The whole world was watching. Burkina Faso was ready, and Ibrahim Traoré, once again, smiled like someone who turned laughter into fear. After digging the first ponds and setting up hatcheries, the real test began. Crocodiles aren't like goats or chickens. They're powerful predators, capable of breaking a man's arm with a single strike. For many villagers, the idea of living next to thousands of crocodiles was terrifying. But Traoré understood that fear could turn into discipline. "Respect the crocodile," he said, "and you will nurture your own children." The government launched a large-scale training campaign. The military camp doubles as a reptile school, where recruits learn to handle baby crocodiles, feed them safely, and maintain the ponds without risk. Farmers, mostly women, are taught how to manage hatcheries, incubators, and feeding schedules. Veterinarians receive scholarships to study reptile health in Zimbabwe, Thailand, and South Africa before returning to Burkina Faso to train the next generation. What started as a strange experiment quickly became a national profession. Infrastructure was the next challenge. Crocodiles need water, and in the Sahel, water means life. Engineers designed solar pump systems to draw groundwater into ponds, serving a dual purpose, raising crocodiles and storing water for irrigation. Nothing was wasted. Nutrient-rich crocodile pond waste was used to fertilize nearby vegetable fields and the maize. Villages once plagued by water shortages now had guarded reservoirs protected by reptiles, symbols of both danger and abundance. Raising 150,000 crocodiles required creativity. Importing fish meal from abroad would only create new dependency, so cooperatives tested local solutions, byproducts from poultry farms, fishery waste from Ghana, and even invasive tilapia caught in nearby rivers. Soon, crocodile farms became the center of a circular economy. Chickens fed crocodiles, crocodiles fertilized crops, crops fed chickens. Burkina Faso was turning waste into wealth. By the third year, the first generation of farmed crocodiles reached harvest size, their skins carefully processed in newly built tanneries near Ouagadougou were soft, durable, and refined. Luxury buyers in Milan, Paris, and Tokyo, who once mocked Sahel crocodiles, now sent agents to negotiate contracts. A single skin could fetch hundreds of dollars. Burkina Faso's negotiators, trained by Traoré's economic advisors, refused to sell cheaply. This was not charity. They told European buyers, "This is luxury. You will pay us like you pay Italy." Meanwhile, crocodile meat penetrated the domestic market. Restaurants in Ouagadougou started serving grilled crocodile steaks with spices, fried crocodile balls as street food, and soups flavored with crocodile fat. What was once taboo became trendy. Tourists from neighboring countries came to enjoy Burkina Faso's new delicacy. The meat, rich in protein and low in fat, even started appearing in school lunch programs. Thousands of jobs were created not only in agriculture but also in restaurants, processing plants, tanneries, and transportation. Socially, the project transformed rural life. The income of villages near the crocodile farms increased significantly. Cooperatives used profits to build schools, clinics, and micro-solar grids. Women were empowered to manage hatcheries and meat processing, holding new leadership positions. Youth who once dreamed of migrating to Europe now stayed to work in the crocodile economy. One proud farmer declared on national television, "I no longer dream of Paris, I dream of 500 crocodiles." International critics tried to raise alarms about animal rights and sustainability, but Ibrahim Traoré calculated based on facts. All farms were strictly managed, wildlife populations were unaffected, and every part of the animals was used. Skin, meat, fat, even bones for fertilizer. He said, "We respect these creatures more than anyone else because they give us life." By the fifth year, Burkina Faso had not only farms but an industry. Tanneries supplied leather for luxury homes. Restaurants offered many crocodile dishes. Villages thrived from cooperative profits, and the desert, once seen as a curse, now sparkled with lakes that were also lush green refuges filled with laughter. Abroad, the criticism stopped. The world was watching, and under Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso built not just crocodile farms, but a crocodile empire. By year 6, the crocodile gamble paid off. Glittering ponds with thousands of reptiles, and the first large-scale harvest began. Workers trained under military standards processed the animals in modern facilities. The skin was removed, cleaned, and sent to new tanneries in Ouagadougou and Bobo Dioulasso. Under strict quality control, raw leather was transformed into some of the finest exotic leathers in the world. Luxury brands Hermes, Gucci, Prada, which once ignored Burkina Faso, now quietly sent envoys. They were amazed by the quality. Soft, supple, consistent, and durable. Each piece of leather sold for hundreds of dollars, sometimes over 1,000. Depending on the type, negotiations were tough because the government, unlike many others, refused to sign contracts limiting fair pricing, local processing, and reinvestment terms. Burkina Faso was no longer just a cheap raw material supplier. It became a competitor in the luxury supply chain. The economic impact was huge. Export revenue from leather began to compete with, then surpass cotton and even gold. The crocodile industry created stable income unaffected by mining market fluctuations. For the first time in history, Burkina Faso benefited not from underground resources exploited by foreign corporations, but from improvements on the ground by its people. Meanwhile, crocodile meat sparked a revolution. Once considered a delicacy, it spread through local and regional markets. Restaurants in Ouagadougou served crocodile steak marinated with local spices. Fast food stalls sold crocodile meat, which is lean, high in protein, and quickly favored by athletes and health-conscious consumers. By year 8, Burkina Faso crocodile meat was exported to neighboring countries and even specialty restaurants in Europe and the Middle East. Precious streams, luxury leather, and meat for the table formed a complete value chain. Nothing was wasted. Fat was processed into cooking oil and ointments. Bones were ground into fertilizer, even wastewater. From the farm's irrigated vegetable gardens was reused. Each crocodile was not just an animal, but a miniature economy serving many industries. Employment soared. Tens of thousands found jobs not only as farmers, but also as tanners. Chefs, truck drivers, traders, and exporters. Women ran hatcheries and processing cooperatives. Youth who once dreamed of migrating now saw crocodiles as their future. "I used to want to cross the sea," a young worker said on TV. "Now crocodiles keep me here, and paying higher wages than in Europe." The social impact is truly profound. Villages near the crocodile farms have seen poverty rates drop sharply. Cooperatives have used profits to fund clinics, wells, and schools. Children who once dropped out now attend classes powered by electricity from farm revenues. Communities that once begged for aid now proudly export leather and meat. "We used to fear crocodiles," an elder said. "Now they are the protectors of our children." At international schools, this change is striking. Burkina Faso has become a name in the fashion world. A supplier of leather used to decorate handbags worth tens of thousands of dollars. But unlike before, Burkina Faso's negotiators hold the advantage. They can walk away from unfair deals. They can set the terms. The power dynamic has shifted from dependence to dignity. Restaurants abroad market Burkina Faso crocodile meat as a taste of the Sahel at sky-high prices. Tourists visiting Burkina Faso have added crocodile dishes to their culinary lists, boosting hotel and hospitality revenues. Farmers, once abandoned, now proudly speak about their role in feeding the world. Critics have tried to raise alarms. Western NGOs question animal welfare. Some environmental groups worry about scale, but inspections show farms operate sustainably with managed breeding and no impact on wild populations. The Burkina Faso government proudly shows transparency, guided farm tours, public audits of contracts, and strict export certifications. The story is clear. This is not exploitation, but innovation. By the end of the decade, crocodiles had become Burkina Faso's new national symbol. They were no longer fearsome predators, but partners in prosperity, their skins wrapped around the arms of the global elite. Their meat filled the plates of locals and foreigners alike, and their presence supported schools and clinics across the country. And as Traore reminded his people in a passionate speech, we turned what the world mocked into what the world desires. That is sovereignty. That is wisdom. That is Burkina Faso. Crocodile farms are no longer just farms. They are proof that imagination, discipline, and courage can turn even the most unbelievable ideas into an empire. By the 15th year of the Crocodile Project, Burkina Faso no longer looked like a country once mocked by the world. The crocodile industry had grown into a billion-dollar sector, creating jobs for tens of thousands and reshaping the nation's identity. Ponds stretched across the savannah. Villages thrived thanks to cooperative profits, and crocodile leather labeled "Made in Burkina Faso" decorated handbags in Paris, Milan, and New York. The transformation was not just economic but political. For decades, Burkina Faso depended on donors and was dominated by international creditors. But crocodile wealth changed that dynamic. Export revenues funded schools, hospitals, and infrastructure without any strings attached. The state no longer negotiated from weakness. They negotiated from strength. When European buyers tried to impose unfair terms, Burkina Faso's negotiators simply reminded them, "If you don't buy, China will. If you don't respect us, the Gulf will." For the first time, Burkina Faso held the advantage. Social structures also changed. Villages near crocodile farms, poverty rates dropped sharply. Women who once struggled selling small garden produce now manage hatcheries and processing plants, holding millions of dollars in cooperative revenue. Young people who once risked crossing deserts and seas now stay home, proud to work in the crocodile industry. Children who once went hungry now eat crocodile meat at school lunches, while profits fund new classrooms, solar grids, and clinics. Culturally, crocodiles have been renamed. Once seen as predators, they are now honored as protectors. National festivals feature parades of farmers wearing crocodile-patterned fabrics, dancing to songs about the defenders of Faso. Artists paint murals of crocodiles rising from the desert to fight against poverty. Even the national currency carries new symbols of this reptile, not as a fearsome beast, but as a symbol of resilience and sovereignty. On the international stage, Burkina Faso's success has shaken up the old power structures. Western countries once saw this plan as cruel or impossible, but now they have to acknowledge its sustainability. Inspections have proven that the farms are well managed, wildlife populations remain unaffected, and nothing goes to waste. Meat, skin, fat, bones, and even pond water are all used to drive the economy. Environmentalists note that the crocodile ponds also serve as reservoirs that support agriculture and biodiversity. The crocodile model has been studied early on at universities as a smart climate innovation case. More importantly, other African nations have taken notice. Delegations from Mali, Niger, and Chad have visited Burkina Faso's farms to explore ways to replicate the model. Pan-African Alliance of Exotic Leather Producers has emerged, determined to capture value domestically instead of exporting raw hides abroad. What began as a leader's gamble has now become a continent-wide movement. For Traore, this is the ultimate victory. He declares, "We have shown the world that Africa's strength isn't in following orders, but in bold imagination. They laughed when we planted bananas. They laughed when we grew cocoa. They laughed when we raised crocodiles. But today, the laughter has stopped. Today, they buy from us." The crocodile revolution has also reshaped Burkina Faso's place in the global imagination. No longer defined by drought, coups, or dependence, this country is seen as a pioneer of unconventional development. Its name is no longer whispered with pity, but spoken with respect. Tourists come here not just to admire the sacred crocodile ponds, but also to dine at restaurants serving crocodile dishes and visit cooperatives where women manage multi-million-dollar businesses. Burkina Faso has turned fear into fascination and fascination into strength. Of course, challenges remain. Markets fluctuate, disease threatens livestock, and global fashion is unpredictable. But the people of Burkina Faso hold something more valuable than any promise they trust. They have witnessed the impossible becoming possible. They have learned that sovereignty is not granted, but built pond by pond, hide by hide, meal by meal. By year 20, the crocodile industry is more than just an economy. It's a metaphor for the nation itself, strong, resilient, both feared and respected, patient yet decisive. Burkina Faso has turned the most unlikely creature into a foundation of dignity. And in doing so, Ibrahim Traoré has proven a truth greater than leather or meat, that Africa's future will not be written by outsiders, but by Africans themselves. Daring to imagine beyond limits, Captain Ibrahim Traoré shocked the world by establishing farms raising 150,000 African crocodiles in Burkina Faso. What critics mocked as madness has become a billion-dollar industry. Crocodile leather supplies luxury brands in Paris and Milan. The meat serves both local and international restaurants, and every byproduct from fat to bones is used. Thriving villages, women leading cooperatives, youth finding jobs, and a nation gaining sovereignty. Traoré's bold gamble has turned a feared reptile into a symbol of resilience, putting Burkina Faso on the global stage.